Welcome to the Beyond AI podcast, a series that highlights the best thought leadership from the best guests on the best shows. This episode features Jessica Cath speaking with Alexandra King on the Beyond podcast.
So coming back to this point around the UK really being a hub for faster payments. Of course, Europe has faster payment flows as well, but we really do have some exciting developments in terms of payments players, which enable payments to move very, very fast. We also have a really good kind of crypto network as well, which again is a bit of a hub when it comes to moving fraudulent funds. Crypto, of course, in the US is becoming more prevalent because of Trump's love of crypto. But until this point, the regulatory frameworks have been tricky in the US. So the UK really is a bit of a hotspot when it comes to fraud.
Okay, that's very disappointing to
hear.
It is. I'm disappointed. But in terms of the cost, so I don't know if this is correct, so correct me if I'm wrong, that fraud now costs more than the global drug trade. Literally more than the global drug trade.
It does indeed.
It does.
And when we
I can't believe that.
It's almost impossible to think about it. Because when we think about crime, we think about drugs. And that's when we think about money laundering. We think about organized crime. But actually, fraud is something that impacts people on the ground in the day-to-day. Another statistic that's really interesting is that over 40% of all the crime in the UK, no matter what crime, is fraud.
It's actual
and
fraud.
Do we think that the police... Two, it's very difficult for banks, financial institutions to try and track that money because in the world of financial crime prevention that I'm in, transaction monitoring has become a huge, complex thing. So if you are scammed, the bank or whoever you bank with will be monitoring all of your payment flows. And they're doing incredible things to look at changes in behaviors using AI machine learning models to try and assess whether or not this is a bit of a different payment. But that's all very, very hard to spot, depending on the scam. So actually identifying that it's a scam can be very, very hard. So there are just multiple different reasons that this is a very difficult thing to prevent.
Gosh, it's frightening. So who's profiting? Who are these people?
There are multiple different types of scammer. So you might think that it's someone like you or I sat on the end of a phone doing some scams as a bit of a side hustle. And there are some low-level scammers. It's becoming easier through AI to do some low-level scams. But a lot of it is actually connected to large global organized crime, and that makes it really difficult to try and stop. So when we start to peel back the layers of some of these scams, if you take a romance scam, for example, which there was a report that came out only yesterday, and romance scams are on the increase at a large scale in the UK. And a lot of these are produced by scam factories in Southeast Asia, so on the border of Myanmar often. It's very hard to spot unless you know what you're looking for. And in those cases, obviously, banks are actually at the moment out crawling to see who's creating fake websites of their firms and trying to make sure that customers are aware. But if you're an individual that doesn't know anything about financial crime prevention, you might think you're just logging into your bank.
That's why elderly and teenagers, although the teenagers, they are growing up to be a bit more savvy because they know how much of this is going on. They won't click on things they don't know. And even my teenager, she'll check, she'll take the URL and she'll plug it into ChatGPT and go, valid or not? Question mark. Check.
Great. That's an excellent check. But yes, they are more savvy, but they are as well more at risk of things like money muling.
What's that?
So young people are often at risk of becoming a money mule. A money mule is like a donkey or a mule that's carrying something. And it's basically carrying money from one place to another. So this is where you might have a scammer or another type of financial crime. That's where the money's come in from. And they are asking to use your account to move that to somewhere else. So you might just be part of the transition and carrying that money and moving it from one place to another. And often they target young people because young people are looking for quick ways to make a little bit of extra cash on the side. And it's a really easy thing to do. You say, absolutely, these are my account details, send me the money. Yeah. You often keep a small portion of the fee, and then you just send the money elsewhere. And young people don't often realize that you're doing something illegal, which can ruin your credit rating. If the bank spots it, your accounts will be shut down. I know some young people that have been unable to get mortgages in future because of activities that they've done through money muling when they're younger. They might not think that they're doing something criminal, but being part of that money laundering flow, you are.
Gosh, this is literally... I'm so glad we're talking right now, because I hear, you hear about drug mules and you think, okay, well, that's a terrible thing. You meet the wrong people. You're transporting these drugs across and that's it. Your life's ruined, basically. But this is a money mule thing, more subtle, very dangerous for these teenagers. And they need to know about it. We need to get this out there. This has got to be a short. Come with a warning and say, all teenagers, listen to this. That's really scary. So how will they know that they've been money muled? What are the signs for this, for the teens?
So anyone that's asking you to, can I send you some money if you move it somewhere else? The challenge is often it comes through people that you semi-know. So it might be through a school friend, or it might be from a university friend, or a friend of a friend, and you feel like there's an element of trust there. So if you have anything that is a pressure to move money at speed, that is a red flag. So often it will be, I don't know, my mother is in hospital. I need money to pay for her healthcare. Please, can you help me out? I need £10,000. Or they might need just 1,000 to start, and then it increases upwards quite quickly. And all of the scams are around some form of pressure to move money quickly.
It makes me think of my parents, when they sometimes come to me and my dad will say, oh, I've got an email and there's a potential thing to invest in and this and that. And whenever I hear anyone asking for money ever, I'm like, no.
And that's the way to go. But it's a sad situation where you have to go out not trusting anyone.
Not trusting, that's right.
And questioning before you make any payment.
Yeah. And same with phone calls. They've had phone calls saying, you need to do this, and pressure about money. And, you just think, well, no one would phone you like that about money. So don't take the call, put that down.
Yes. Don't take phone calls. So phone calls you will not get anymore. Phone calls will not take place. But if someone does phone you, it's absolutely 100% a scam. So phone calls, no. And if you are receiving a message or an email and you're not sure about it, phone your bank on the number that you know is the bank and ask them and say, I've just received this message. Can you confirm? They will confirm, and then you can do it that way. Your phone. So for example, if you have your HSBC banking app, for example, you can change the icon and you can change the name HSBC to something completely random that is your banking app, but someone who might have stolen your phone wouldn't be able to see that icon. So there are some ways and techniques that people are trying to deploy to stop this, but ultimately it's a pretty sad situation to be in, where we're worried about 40,000 instantly leaving our accounts if you have your phone stolen.
Gosh. Okay, a term I've heard, push payments. What are push payments?
So authorized push payments, or APP fraud, is a particular type of fraud. This is very difficult for banks to spot, because this is where you or I actually authorize that payment ourselves. So, for example, in COVID, we're all sat at home thinking, I really want a new puppy. APP fraud puppy scams were really popular. So this would be where you see an advert for a new puppy and you think, this is brilliant. And you authorize a payment for the puppy or the deposit, and you never get that money back and you never get the puppy. And it's really common in terms of purchase scams, that kind of thing. So if you see something online, you authorize a payment, and then actually the thing never turns up. It's really hard for banks to spot because you are authorizing that payment yourself. And banks must allow you to make payments. You must be able to make your own payments. You are the master of your own destiny when it comes to moving your own money around. But what if it's a scam? Difficult. Actually, I was in a room of financial crime professionals or anti-financial crime professionals, and we were looking at different images and videos side by side, and we've been trained how to spot AI versus human images, and even we were struggling to spot quite a few of them. And that's where only AI is good at spotting AI generated images and videos. So I suppose it's not all a doom and gloom story, because there is quite a lot of financial crime prevention that's using these technologies to try and prevent scams.
Absolutely.
But we're doing a bit of a kind of catch up constantly with new methods.
Well, they want to use the AI in an evil way, and then you've got to counteract that. So you've got to develop to just be the antidote, like the opposite. But it's a tool.
It's a tool.
It can be used nicely or not nicely, I guess. What's the most convincing deep fake you've ever seen?
So at the moment, the most convincing deepfakes have still been images. So using people's images or fake images to open new accounts. In terms of videos, they're getting there, but most of the deepfakes are still just people's images being used in different ways to circumvent controls and move illicit money around.
So in terms of governments learning about this, because, governments in a way are administrators as well. They put things in place, but they need the knowledge, the know-how to know what to put in place. Are they talking to people like you, to your company? They are?
Well, I don't want to scare people into just being constantly suspicious all the time, but there are lots of exciting things happening at banks, at fintechs, to try and help you process payments safely. So when, for example, on your banking app, when you're making a payment, you might now see 1,000,001 questions that say, do you want to make this payment? Are you sure you want to make this payment? Can you explain why you're making this payment? And whilst that might be annoying, actually, it's designed to take you through that pausing, reflecting and thinking process before you verify any sort of large movement of funds to a new third party. So that's what it's designed to do. It might be annoying, but please do take note and think about those questions when you get them, if you're just about to move your money somewhere.
I did notice those messages coming up, actually. So top 3 red flags for scamming, what would they be?
So for me, the top 3, the first would definitely be speed. So, and the urgency, speed or urgency. I don't know if that's 1 or 2, but the urgency, if you have got something that is coming through with urgency, not many things are that urgent. So if it's an urgent, please move the funds, it's highly likely to be a scam. The second red flag is anything around sort of the emotional manipulation.
That was Jessica Cath, speaking with Alexandra King on the Beyond podcast. Visit beyondai.media to learn more. See you on the next episode.